This is eCoffee with Experts, where marketers and founders share what's actually working in SEO, AI, and digital growth. Grab your coffee and fuel your mind as we chat with top minds about their wins, struggles, and lessons you won't find in a blog post. Brought to you by Digital Web Solutions, we bring real talk to help you grow your business, one episode at a time. Let's get started.
John Thomas, welcome to eCoffee with Experts. Good to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm excited to get started. You have quite a few years of experience of SEO, and now you just started a new role as an SEO strategist at Madfish Digital. I'm curious, in this new role, you're hands-on with clients immediately, even though you're in a new environment, new company, new people, new processes. Let's just get right to it. What's the first thing you look for when you're auditing a new client's online presence for SEO?
I think the first thing I look at, naturally, I look at their metas. I look at their title tags. I look at their meta descriptions. And that tells me, essentially, if I can look at their metas and I can see that pretty much I can see the history of SEO in that website just by seeing where they're at. Just the homepage meta description and title tags tells me, have they had an SEO work on this before? Were they good? Or it's a new world for them? And that helps me know, okay, what level should I be talking to the client about? Where are they at in terms of SEO understanding?
Yeah. Is there anything in specific? I mean, you said that you can kind of tell if an SEO has worked with them. Are there any tells that you're looking at?
Pipes. If I see like a pipe, then the company name, that usually tells me that I see that consistently over all the web pages. That usually tells me that an SEO has touched it before. I can tell that no one's ever touched it before if the homepage title tag is homepage or home. If they're using more navigational words in there and not actual SEO type keywords. And especially, and if I see things like best or top or some kind of keywords that you would use that might opportunities. If I see them taking opportunities in the keywords, especially for the homepage, but for other industry pages or things like that, then I can tell that an SEO has touched it before.
Yeah. And I wonder how many clients will come to an agency because they've been burned or they weren't happy with the previous agency. I mean, are you client facing, or is it mostly are you working on the client after they're, brought into the ecosystem?
I'm not part of the sales process and I do face the client, but I'm not the main point of contact at Madfish with the client. We have a strategist who is the person who does all the communicating. I just communicate with client either monthly or bi-monthly, sharing SEO updates and strategies and things like that. Like I said, I'm not part of the sales process, but we'll get an idea. I'll watch read the sales materials and watch the sales videos before the client is part of Madfish.
Yeah, so you kind of understand where they're coming from. My question on that is, I was kind of curious, how do you educate clients who are maybe SEO skeptical, or maybe they've had bad experiences with agencies in the past?
I think, that's a great question. I think when people are SEO skeptical, usually it's because, like you said, they've had a bad experience. And often that bad experience, I think, comes from being promised things that SEO strategists shouldn't be promising. For the most part, really, when I get a chance to talk to the client, it's a conversation about, we're going to go on a journey together. We're going to try some things. But by the time I talk to them directly, I have some ideas. I have a plan in place, but I don't make promises that I can't keep, because the SEO's, it's like being a doctor a little bit. We're going to try some things. We're going to try some medicine. We're going to try some treatments. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't, we got some other ideas that we can try. It's a lot of experimenting and putting something out there. And it's, try and fail and try again and work together. And if you give the clients reasonable expectations in terms of, this is going to be, if you need something tomorrow, let's talk to paid, let's talk to PPC, and then let's see what we can get going quickly. But I want to plant some seeds and grow something that's going to last you for the next decade. And it's going to take a few months. It's going to take a year to really get those seeds planted and get those get that crop growing. But let's go on that journey together. And I can promise that I'm going to work. I'm going to be excited. I'm going to work hard, and we're going to see some results one way or another. And we're going to constantly be touching, constantly be twisting and turning and making it work. Because the website will change, Google's going to change, the audience is going to change, the world is going to change. And so you can't just set it and forget it. It's got to be a weekly, monthly, constant touching.
Yeah. SEO is a bit like the West Virginia state motto, wild and wonderful, isn't it? A little bit.
Well, especially nowadays,
right?
We use the term Wild West quite a bit. We talk about, we are in the Wild West right now, and it is wild and wonderful, and it's really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's especially the Wild West with AI, which we're about to jump into. But before we do, like, even on the
Mhm.
foundational level, you've been in SEO for years and you've seen the landscape shift. What's like the old, what do you call that? Like the old faithful, like a old school tactic that you still find cuts through the noise and is actually surprisingly effective even today.
There's lots of tools I like to use. I like to use Ahrefs. I like to use SEMrush. Of course, the Google suite of tools. But I find that Google Autofill is really still very reliable and
Mm,
faithful if I want to see if a keyword is viable or not. And SEMrush gives you a slice of the pie. Ahrefs gives you a slice of the pie. But Google Autofill. So if is this a good keyword? If it'll autofill in Google after a few strokes, I know, okay, I can't see it in Ahrefs. I can't see it in SEMrush, but it's autofilling in Google. So there's something there. Let's pursue it.
hmm,
If it won't, then I'll probably toss it. So yeah, I like
yeah.
autofill, and also looking at people also ask, which AI is kind of the people also ask zoomed in and exploded. But people also ask is also a great place, is a great source for information for keywords.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to the primary source. We're all trying to basically manipulate the algorithm. Why not just go to the algorithm itself and
Yeah,
find the primary source of information of what's
yeah.
working? Yeah,
No,
that's a
exactly.
yeah. That's a great point. In terms of like, so speaking of everything that we're doing in order to influence the algorithm, and obviously it's pushing back, and we're just having this, fun playtime pushing back and forth. What role does content management play in a successful SEO strategy? And I guess how do you ensure that content remains human while checking all the technical boxes?
Yeah, I mean, content and SEO, they have to be handcuffed together. I mean, you can't be doing
Hmm.
SEO without content and the other way around. And we do. And if I may be working with a client's content team, or we work with our internal content team, but we really have to. If you're not helping shape the content as an SEO, then you're basically just a reporter, which is okay, and that has
Mm,
its role. But the real fun, I think, of working in SEO is getting to help create content either by guiding the content team or even sometimes creating things myself, and then seeing what happens, seeing how it grows, and seeing how it is, seeing how it's successful, or if it didn't work, adjusting, like I said, adjusting, changing, make and seeing if we can optimize it to fit better. Yeah, no, obviously there's no SEO without content, the other way around, I think.
yeah, yeah, of course. And I guess how has keyword research like changed for you in the last say 12 months? I mean, are you still approaching it the same way or has it changed?
Keyword research, well, with AI, just it adds another, I don't want to say parallel universe, but it's not the same. We still have to do what we're doing with keyword search and with traditional search, because that hasn't gone anywhere, and it hasn't. I don't think it's going to go anywhere for a while. But now we've got this new kind of planet in the solar system that we have to deal with, which is the AI, both with
Hmm.
AI summaries and with ChatGPT and the other platforms. So it's more. It's not necessarily
Yeah.
changed as much. It's just we also, okay. What about the GEO side? What about the generative engine optimization side of things? So
Hmm.
more work, but also it's really exciting. It's exciting being a part of sort of something new that's going on.
Hmm.
Clients are excited, the world's excited, so it's kind of new. It's fun to be a part of.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, let's go down that path for a sec. In terms of AEO and GEO, AI overviews are a separate thing. So we'll just, I guess we'll stick with, we'll stick with LLMs for now.
Mhm.
How are you approaching visibility and how are you helping your clients become visible without breaking any sort of, I guess, technical or, how are you approaching it?
How are we approaching it? It's a lot of content optimization, looking to see, is this content, is AI going to respond to this content? We'll just use ChatGPT because it seems like ChatGPT is sort of the Google of the AI platforms.
Hmm.
Probably 85 to 95% of the traffic I'm seeing from LLMs is coming from ChatGPT across clients. So,
Hmm.
which I would say surprises me, but I expected that number as the number of LLMs increased, I expected the ChatGPT number to fall, and it really hasn't fallen more than a percentage point or two. So it's really
Yeah.
has a strong staying power. So, see, to answer your question a little more, so I'm looking to see what I think the ChatGPTs can respond to in the content. So optimizing content for AI, which means
Hmm.
making sure that pages have FAQs. The AI platforms like the question answer format. Not
Hmm.
surprisingly, does it have is the important information front loaded? Are we answering a question right in the first sentence of the paragraph and giving details afterwards? Do we have bullet points? And these things are not so different from what we were doing with SEO traditionally anyway. But it does seem
Right.
like, I think the difference is kind of the fork in the road is, I think ChatGPT is looking for more. And it's hoping
Hmm.
that you can give you every little detail on the same page, and making sure that we can give ChatGPT what it wants, but also making sure that the actual human users are not being um, turned off from the volume of information that
Hmm.
we're going to share. So a little bit more information, some more details, more FAQs, but also trying to keep pages, to not turning into chapters of books.
Yeah. It's a delicate balance, that's for sure. And like you said, like nothing is necessarily new here. We just have the intention of staying visible in GPTs or in LLMs.
Hmm.
But really, like if you're doing sound SEO, you should be pretty safe. And it's not like
Right.
there's anyone who is a complete LLM expert and they like know all the
Mhm.
hacks that normal, other SEOs don't know. That's not the case. It's just the ones who are seeing AI as a fad or as a trend and they're not even thinking about that. They might miss the front loading the content. They might miss the FAQ or some of the formatting. And it's kind of like whenever we're building the content, like you mentioned, we always want the end user in mind. I mean, it's the same thing with building content for traditional SERPs. We always want to think of the end user and provide value for them because I think at the end of the day, that's what's going to surface the most. And it's now a competition of who understands their ICP the best and how can we
Right.
provide them value and answer their questions and at the same time build trust that we are the brand that you want to engage with further off of the LLM platform. I mean, are you a part of, digging into the ICP and doing research and finding out where they're at in terms of top, middle, and bottom of the funnel content?
Yes. I'm not sure if I fully understand the question you're trying to ask in terms.
Well, I suppose there's like keyword research that you're doing in terms of like the customer segmentation, I suppose is what I'm trying to get at.
Mhm.
You have different customers. How are you reporting back on like what's trending? Like, are you going into ChatGPT and searching? You mentioned the Google Autofill. What's the LLM version of that?
I don't know that we know yet. I think that we're still
Yeah.
kind of on the front lines of that. From what you said earlier, yeah, there are people out there calling themselves LLM experts, and for people out there who are looking for those services, I would be a little bit skeptical at this point. We
Mm.
just started using a AI reporting tool, and just added clients last month. We used a tool called Peak AI.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of following keywords, we're following prompts. And so we're kind of following
Mm-hmm.
questions and seeing how our clients appear uh, in those results of those questions. But it's not, we don't see rankings the same way we do as with Google. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 through 10 on page 1 and 2, 11 through 20 on page 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit fuzzier, understandably. But we want to try to do the things that we get our clients in appearing in those searches. In terms of the funnel, probably the hardest conversations we're having right now is with clients who think that they're going to get a bunch of leads from AI. And the AI, in
Mm.
terms of the funnel, the AI is a little bit higher up than what we might see in a search or on their pages. So if someone is doing a search in AI, and on top of that, the AI tools want to keep people in the platform. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing, in some cases, seeing less clicks from AI directly to a website because AI is wanting to share less clicks. They don't want people to leave the platforms, just like social media does, just
Mm-hmm.
like LinkedIn does, just like a lot of tools. They want to keep
Mm-hmm.
you in the platform. So how can those tools give you the information you want without you leaving? Well, that's not
Mm-hmm.
really exciting for clients to say. Well, wait a minute, we want the people to come to the website. So how can we share that information? Share your brand name, and then not coming to the website. Well, that's where the content comes in. It's Our rewards from AI are going to be more about awareness and mentions, and less about dollars and cents and lead generation directly from AI. So, well, people say, well, maybe I'm not as interested in that. Okay, are you going to leave that space open for your competition? Well, no, I don't want to do that. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're a little bit forced into this situation where, again, exciting new world, but we have to be a part of it to be, I think,
Yeah.
to go into 2026, 2027, in the next few years.
Yeah. It's a non-negotiable. I mean, visibility online it would be so silly if you heard someone said, I'm launching a business, but I don't have a website. Like, what? What
Right.
are you talking about?
Yeah.
Where do all your customers come from? Are you selling lemonade on the side of the road or like doing a garage sale or something? I don't know about all
Hmm.
that.
Right. No, absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. Your background, you've been in B2B marketing for a long time. What's one
Mhm.
trend do you think will dominate in B2B marketing in the next 2 years?
I think we'll see the same thing in B2C, but I think we'll actually see it in B2B, which is kind of a fuzziness on AI integration, where
Hmm.
things like drip campaigns, which were okay at week one, you get email one, and at week three, you get email two, and at week four, you get. I think we're going to see a little bit more AI generated AI touches from the client will be trigger the next step in these kind of
Mm,
marketing campaigns. I think we're going to see marketing campaigns that are more integrated, probably thanks to AI, but also so where paid is touching social, is touching email campaigns, is touching other ways that we can interact with potential leads in ways. I think the opportunities are in ways that were not even imaginable 5 years ago, or if they were, they would have been so labor intensive that it would have been worth it. So I think a lot of the tools that we're going to use now, I think AI is going to be used in ways to kind of cut some corners in client interaction, so the end client interaction.
yeah, more efficient, more optimized. What is it? Search everywhere optimization, I think is the new
Mhm.
word on the block or the new term. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just having all these, almost like unsiloing marketing. The SEO team is now talking with PPC, is now talking with email, is now talking with, the social team. I think is what you're saying, right? They're all going to become more integrated and we'll have different AI tools and platforms and systems to work that, agents, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Now we have more of a reason because I can connect a content calendar with an email campaign in a ways that may make sense. I say, oh, I'm going to make this shift where I wouldn't have bothered with another team saying, okay, well, it doesn't matter because they're doing their thing over here and I'm doing my thing over here. Those campaigns can be integrated in one place, and maybe AI saying, "Hey, John, email is going to do this promotion in 2 months. Do you want to do a content that's going to reflect the same message?"
Hmm.
And that's super exciting because I think a lot of teams, especially in big marketing teams, we're a little bit siloed. You tend to get siloed. It's like, let me work on my
Hmm.
things. I got a full day.
Hmm.
But now some of those meetings may not even need to happen. I can just be alerted and told about what's going on and work with it without necessarily having to put another meeting on my calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. Meetings are, man, the bane of my existence. Yeah. Take them off the calendar as much as we can. I know you're
I,
listening, CEO. Just kidding.
I
Good
no, I
friend of
have to
mine.
admit, I rarely regret seeing a meeting leave my calendar, and I
Yeah.
hate to admit it, but it's
Yeah.
true.
No, right? Not that we have anything against people. That's why we're in this
No.
business because they're so interesting. Speaking of people, I was looking through your recommendations, like people who recommended you or Madfish, but mostly you. And people were mentioning your ability to read clients quickly, like read people. How do you adapt your communication style for, let's say, like a technical CEO versus like a creative marketing director?
Yeah, I think being able, before I was in marketing and SEO, I've done quite a few things. I was a teacher and a translator, and worked in a bank, doing all kinds of things. I've driven a forklift in a company. So
Yeah.
having been around, different people and worked with folks from the boots on the ground to the CEOs. Yeah, I think I've just picked up ways to communicate or read the room. I guess is what would be helpful. So people don't like being talked over, and so making sure that I understand where my audience is in terms of SEO understanding and
Mm-hmm.
tailoring that message to someone. So I'm not saying things that don't make sense. SEO is very logical, but it's when you get to the details, it gets confusing and it gets hard to understand. We use a lot of terms and acronyms that people don't understand, just like I wouldn't understand probably in a banker's meeting or an insurance company, agent's meeting. So making sure I
Mm-hmm.
keep those things out of there and try to use metaphors that people will understand to describe what we're trying to do. In the end, our goals are always the same as the clients, which is generate leads and generate more business for them. And so if we can convince them that we're doing it in a way that they feel comfortable with, that's where I think that's where the relationship is where it starts.
Yeah, meeting people where they're at is a skill. I think, man, when I see people that are really struggling through their relationships and through their communication, it's always like, man, you have like it's the lack of understanding, like the lack of being able to put themselves in somebody else's shoes, which I think reflects back when you look at like the best SEOs, the people who are
Right.
getting the best results, they are very adept at that skill. They understand how to put themselves into somebody else's shoe very easily. And then write about it, right?
No, absolutely. I think it's something that comes with being an SEO. I think my favorite part of a campaign is usually my first hour with the website, because I can look at the website in a way that their target audience is looking at it, because it's my first
Hmm.
time and I'm seeing the things that I probably won't see in a month. But the first hour I spend with that website is I'm going to see those things. And so I take a lot of notes that first hour, because the people they're targeting, the people they want, the people I'm trying to get are people who are going to have that same experience once they hit the website. So
Mm,
how do we make sure that website is delivering the message that to them it's something that is so natural to them, of the product they sell, because they're with it 24 hours a day. But to this person they're trying to introduce it to, it's brand new. So how do we use that website to introduce it to somebody who knows nothing about what that company does, what that product they sell? So yeah, I think you're right. I think the SEO, the skill of an SEO is bridging that gap between someone who knows nothing and someone who knows everything. And how do we meet
mm,
them in the middle? And I get a lot of resistance from clients and saying like, no, obviously everybody knows this thing. I was like, let's just for a moment, let's consider the idea that maybe what you're selling is something that they haven't considered yet or haven't heard of, or they're searching for an answer that
mm,
or search for a solution that they're not sure exists. How do we find them
mm.
there in using terms that they're using? Because I want to use the terms that the user is using, not the terms that the client is using. Oftentimes there's a Venn diagram, there's overlap, but sometimes it's not as big as the client thinks it is.
Yeah, it's a great point. Just like starting with everything as simple as you can get it, assuming that the end user knows nothing, and then kind of building up from there. I mean,
Hmm.
speaking of
Hmm.
understanding languages, you mentioned that you were a teacher and a translator. You're bilingual in Japanese and English, and I'm curious how your understanding, a deep understanding of Japanese and a different culture, how does that sort of a background how does that sort of a background help you spot those kind of like marketing nuances that someone like me, who's only fluent in one language barely, might miss?
Yeah, I think understanding the cultural differences, language and culture are inseparable. So some things that we think are universal among humans are something that are only maybe unique to Americans. And the same with in Japan. Things that maybe they think are universal to the world is something that is very unique to Japanese, which I'm sure you visiting Japan, you would look and go, oh my gosh, we don't have these things here, but that's part of their everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as business and working with business and someone in industry A, that's their culture. And someone that we're trying to pull into that culture as a client, it's not a part of that culture. So how do we make that culture feel natural to them? And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's been being able to communicate in Japanese has been advantageous in terms of helping decide keywords and create content, and gives me a little bit of can I step outside myself and look at this from a new perspective? I'm having lived in Japan for a few years. Yeah, I had a lot of opportunity to see myself in it from a different perspective.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Couple years in a former lifetime of mine, I lived in Malaysia, which is like
Yeah.
halfway between the US and Japan, a little bit more skewed toward the Japanese side. But
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, I noticed the same thing. I was like, man, what are we doing? Couple things where I was like, the US is way behind in the world. And a couple things where I'm like, how are you guys still doing that here? Is
No, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I think that's
interesting.
probably true all over the world. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm, mhm. Well, as we come to the end of our time here, John, what are you really focused on personally, either at Madfish or in your own personal life? Like, what is something that you think is going to be the big domino that if you could just nail that, everything else becomes easier or irrelevant?
Oh boy, what a great question. Let's see, what would be something that, I think, and I hate to harp on AI, but I think when I can start feeling at least comfortable with the AI,
Mm,
I feel, I mean, especially in terms of using the reporting tools. I'm comfortable writing for and working with AI. Reporting tools are new, and so I'm getting used to working with Peak.ai and some of the other tools that we're
mhm,
looking at. But I think it also is. I think one of my worries is people's kind of diving into AI, kind of eyes closed and feet first, and just like going, okay, this is sort of going all in on AI. And I think I worry about people going all in AI without trying to take out the human factor. I think AI is trust but verify when you use AI with results. And I
mhm,
do use AI for things like creating schema markup and some of the usually, putting some coding in. But I don't, I think anything that is going to be human touching, I want to make sure a human touches it. I
mhm,
don't trust AI to write content on its own or give me answers to questions without verifying that actually this is true, because anyone who's used AI for more than a few hours has probably been burned or noticed things that like, wait a minute, that's not true. AI? Let's keep taking a look at it. And sometimes AI is, I'd say sometimes AI is reminds me of like a teenager giving a book report on a book he hasn't read. And you'll say,
Uh-huh.
no, that didn't happen. And he's like, oh, you know what? You're right. Actually, it went like this. I'm like, why
Oh
didn't you
yeah.
tell me that in the
Let me
first
try
place?
it again.
Let's try it again.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
right. So use AI. I would
Good
recommend,
point.
yeah, use AI with skepticism. I want to make sure that I try to I have to remind myself to do that too, just because it gives me a code that looks beautiful. Let's test it out. Let's make sure it works before we start putting into websites and things like that. So yeah, I think I don't know if there's a big domino that I feel like I will be done once it falls.
Hmm.
Feeling, being in a world that is more comfortable in AI just one more. I want AI to get more normalized without being
Yeah.
overly trusted. Yeah, it's a tool. I think
Yeah.
AI is our tool, not our friend.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. I agree with that. It's a tool, not a lifestyle, man.
Right. No, absolutely. And
You're right.
I see it. No, I see it. I see with friends like who, even my 7-year-old, she'll say, I'll answer a question. She's like, well, can you ask Siri? It's like, no, we're not going to ask Siri. We're going to trust Dad on this one, So, then I'll ask Siri to make sure, just in case I'm not 100%. But,
Yeah. Yeah. Behind the scenes.
so yeah,
That's hilarious.
I won't say I worry a little bit, but, there's generation who now we're going to grow up without, will
Yeah.
not know a world before AI. Just like, I grew up in a world. I remember the world before the internet, and maybe you do too. And so now,
Woo.
I know kids who don't. There's generations that don't remember a
Yeah.
world before internet, and so now we're going to have that kind of next step as the world before AI and the world after AI. It's exciting. It's
Yeah.
gonna be wild. It's gonna be a wild
Yeah.
ride for a couple of years.
That's right. That's right. Back to the top of the conversation. Wild and wonderful
Mhm.
and probably a little bit scary, but you know what? We're here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
We're here
excited.
for it.
Yeah, and I'm excited to be a part of it. In what little way I can.
I'd rather be a part of it than not be a part of it. How's that? How's that, right?
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, John Thomas, where can we find more about you and about Madfish Digital?
Madfishdigital.com is the place to go. And if you have any questions, you can find me, John T. and Madfish Digital. And yeah, if anyone has any questions or wants to talk more about it, I'd love to chat with anybody who's out there who has any interest.
Perfect. Well, thank you for coming on to eCoffee with Experts, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.